Hey everyone, welcome to Saturday Night Popcorn. This is Jason.
And this is Kai, and we have another great discussion for you today. The movie of the day is actually it's a new month. It's December. We're doing documentaries, making of basically the making of making a movie. So the first movie to kick that off is actually Heart of Darkness, the making of Apocalypse Now. Spoiler warning: this movie's from 1991. Apocalypse Now is from like the 70s, I think, 76, maybe 80s. I want to say 76. Don't quote me on it.
Yeah.
So still want to give a spoiler warning, and we'll get into it.
Yeah, and we also want to give like a brief summary of the documentary in this case. So here it goes. Apocalypse Now is one of the most celebrated and ambitious films of all time, but it's also had one of the most troubled and chaotic productions in cinema history. We will get into that. Hearts of Darkness, a
Good.
filmmaker's apocalypse, is a documentary that exposes the behind-the-scenes challenges and conflicts that plagued Francis Ford Coppola and his crew as they attempted to adapt Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness into a Vietnam War epic. Directed by Coppola's wife Eleanor and two young filmmakers, the film combines Eleanor's candid footage from the set in the Philippines with interviews with the cast and crew. The film reveals how Coppola faced various obstacles, such as severe weather, health crises, budget blowouts, and casting dilemmas, and his own personal doubts. While trying to realize his artistic vision and create his masterpiece, Hearts of Darkness, a filmmaker's apocalypse, is a gripping and enlightening look at the art of filmmaking and the creation of a cinematic legend. Ooh. That gave me chills.
I can definitely say I enjoyed the hell out of this movie, but man, was it chaotic trying to get this movie made. It was chaotic.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I wanted to kind of like talk with you. It's like Francis added to that chaotic because him trying to
Yeah.
write things on the fly
Oh yeah,
added to
that
that.
screwed it up for sure. But I think that might have been one of the bigger setbacks for him. But just the fact that they tried to get this funded, they wanted to shoot in Vietnam and had to go to the Philippines, and then there was all kinds of like weather issues, and yeah, all the actors were not all the actors. Some of the actors got into their own situations. Freaking Marlon Brando throwing monkey wrenches because he didn't want to learn lines or read the script. It was a lot going
Or
on.
lose weight. He ended up gaining weight.
Oh yeah, hey yeah, I'll be fit, and he just gains 30 pounds. It's like, dude, what? And got three
And I
million
like
dollars for
how
3 weeks of work.
yeah, and he got 1 million up front. And
Yeah,
basically, like what sucked is that he had to stay with Marlon Brando because he was gonna take that $1 million too.
yeah,
So that sucks. I like Francis's like idea of once Marlon showed up on set, like, oh, he's kind of fat. So let's play into that and everything. Like, let's make
yeah.
him like a gluttonous kind of soldier. And then Marlon's like, no, I don't want to be portrayed like that. Well, you're walking around
Which
like
threw me off.
that.
That threw me off. I'm like, you're the reason why you're fat. Like, if I'm Francis, like I told you up front, you need to be fit, and then you decide to gain weight, and then now you're like, well, I don't want to be perceived as a fat person or an overweight person. It's like, look at you.
Patty
That made
immediately
no
was like, oh
sense.
my God, Marlon's a diva.
So, I have a side like question. I guess it's somewhat related. It's more related to Marlon Brando. How did he pass away?
I forget. I think there was some like complications of I like some health issues and stuff because I think he did have
Okay,
like some issues with like weight gain and everything. So
okay,
no, don't quote me on that. I think look that up later.
yeah. I'll have to. I meant
But
to
he did die
Google it.
younger, like not in
Yeah,
terms of like old age. Like he was what like probably older than most people, but yeah.
okay. Because that's something like a lot of the media talks about a lot of celebrities' deaths, but I don't really remember hearing about his. Like I hear about his career all the time, and I've seen his movies, but it doesn't seem like many people touch on how he passed away. So I thought I would ask.
I don't recall that too well right now, but
Okay.
yeah, this kind of shows him in a light that is probably negative and everything. Like, but
Hmm.
is it self-imposed negativity because he did not remember any of the lines? Like, there's a portion in the documentary you see that he's like walking around. I don't know what to say in this, and he's like
Yeah.
still kind of like trying to walk around all dramatic.
It just it's like if you would have learned the script, you'd have been good. But even Martin Sheen's situation of like Harvey Harvey Keitel losing the job or getting fired from the role, and then Martin Sheen taking the role over, and then him kind of losing his mind and being drunk on his 30th 36th birthday, and them filming the
36th
whole
birthday, yeah.
situation, and he like breaks a mirror, he's just bloody, has a heart attack, and it's like,
And then at
what?
some point he's naked. Like, I was like, the guy's
Yeah,
naked. Like, they're not like showing from the waist down, but like, so
because you
he's
saw
in a
like
room with like maybe like 15 people.
he just wiener out, and you're like, you just kept filming this man that just has his wiener out. Like, all right, because it was a quick transition
I
from
don't know.
him
Did you
like,
ever read that about?
mhm. No, go ahead, go ahead.
Did you ever read that about Apocalypse Now, where supposedly he was like drunk throughout that whole scene? It's like the
No,
beginning of the movie, I think, in terms of time frame. Like, yeah, I remember I read a long time ago that like supposedly he was like really drunk and they just went with it and stuff, and this kind of confirmed it. And I guess because
yeah,
this documentary came out afterwards and stuff, but
after, yeah.
hey,
I wish so. As I was watching it,
and then having a heart
as
attack.
yeah, out of nowhere, that had to be tied to something else. There's no way that was just health related. That might have been some extracurricular things he was doing too, possibly. But
Yeah,
yeah, as I was watching this, I just kept thinking like I wish more films would do this. Like I would love to see the behind the scenes of so many other famous films. So I'm kind of mad that this isn't the typical or the
yeah. What comes to
norm
mind
for
as to
filmmaking.
which famous films do you want to see?
Matrix, uh, Jurassic Park, even like more recent ones like Barbie. I would love to see. Like they have some, but they're like 15-minute like studio binder videos of like making of. This is how they did this shot. This is how they created the film set. But I would have loved to have seen the process of like, okay, Greta and her husband wrote the script. Margot Robbie jumps in, reads the script. Now we're in the production of the film. We're seeing all of them coordinate the dances and the actors, and hey, let's try that same scene this way, like all of that stuff. I'm a nerd for that stuff, so I would love to see all that behind the scenes.
Yeah, I think you're right. Where it's like a lot of times, like nowadays, like the making of films are like 15 minutes, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's cut together, like very production
Talk.
wise. Where this
Yeah.
Hearts of Darkness is like a gritty kind of like
Yes.
they really don't care as to like, all right, like they're not showing Francis in like a very good light. It's because
Mm-hmm.
he's an artist and he wants to get it right, and
Yeah.
he's also paying for all of it, and so he feels about all like the financial despair that he might have in the future, but then also like I have to get this done. Like I like the part where
Yeah.
he's like, I like, did I want to quit? I can't. Like, who am I gonna quit to? Like myself? Like I'm the one paying for
Yeah.
it.
He just looks in the mirror. I quit. It's like, yeah, just go finish.
Right.
I think that would be
I don't know.
cool. Like,
I think this gives you. Go ahead.
go ahead. Oh no, I was saying I would love to see a Scorsese film like this, just to see the nitty gritty and the behind, like the real behind the scenes, not like a studio produced behind the scenes of like, oh, we can't show the director cursing out this actor. We have to only show the bright and shiny pieces during the making of this. Like, no, I want to see everything. Like
Yeah.
Christian Bale going crazy on the cameraman or the lighting guy. Like if they had that in a behind the scenes shot, I'd be like, oh, okay. Like things got crazy.
Yeah, and you also think about you have Oppenheimer that's kind of coming out into video right
Hmm.
now and stuff, and so Christopher Nolan has all these like dramatic set pieces. What happens if those things go wrong? Like, does he just kind of go with
Yeah,
the flow and like I got to record everything so then I can cut it together? Like with all in the Hearts of Darkness, like there was all that time where like they're taking the helicopters away to because the
oh
Philippines was
yeah,
kind
to
of
go
fighting
fight
the
a
war
war.
themselves too.
Yeah, it's like,
So
hey,
like
no,
what
no, no.
happens when that doesn't work? Like do you just
Exactly.
redo it? Like rebuild all the stuff that you blew up and everything?
Well, it seemed like in the instance with Martin Sheen after his heart attack, they had that moment of like, okay, well, we didn't think it was going to take this long for him to get back, so we're just trying to figure out what else to film because we need our star, but we don't have him.
Yeah.
So what the heck are we going to film for these next week or next couple of days?
And they had a stand-in, right? They had a
Hmm.
person that like if they only showed his back, it was like some random person that they had that looked like him, I guess.
Looking like enough.
Yeah, right. I think the main thing that I liked about this film and like the true behind the scenes that you have of this is that it's done by Francis's wife.
Hmm.
And it's funny how like it was his wife that kind of like, well, I don't know if he's just trying to make me do something till that I'm not bored or something,
Yeah,
or like he doesn't want the actual like production people to like be there on a 24-hour basis, like watching them and everything. It was smart on both ends, but then also like it was. I love the fact that like it was her that did it and everything, and she was filming things. She recorded him without his knowledge to kind of get his like
yeah.
true emotions and everything, which is I wonder that discussion afterwards, like how that turned out, where it's like Francis is like, "What'd you do?"
It reminded me of this. There's this like meme from Cops. It's this altercation between a man and a woman, and the cops end up tasing the man. And there's like it's like a moment of just like, man, you're getting tased, but he still points. He's like, I'm gonna get you. That's what that reminded me of. Of like, I can see Francis after, like, how'd you
Yeah,
do
yeah,
so wrong? I'm
right.
gonna get you later. Like, how could you do that?
Hey, now, yeah, like she goes through all that crap to like film him, like go through his artistic kind of like he needs to make his project and stuff, and it
Yeah,
shows that like she was very supportive of that whole situation and everything, but it also does kind of like add to their lifestyle and everything. You
yeah.
saw like where she was like, we live in a 20-room mansion and stuff, and we have staff on hand, but it's because of his art and also this because like you can consider this Eleanor's art of like she
Oh
this
yeah.
was her passion project to kind of put together this documentary about her husband. It just so happened to be her husband, but this like chaotic kind of production of this like movie that goes on to be a masterpiece supposedly.
Do you think so? Okay, I'm thinking he knew it was gonna be great, but do you think he knew it was gonna be at the level it became? Like, do you think like it was gonna have the aura that it has now, like during the making? Because we saw like the behind the scenes were like, I'm still writing. This scene doesn't make sense. I don't even know where the story is at this point. Do you think like after that was done, it's like, okay, we edited, we're gonna put it in theaters. Yes, it's gonna be one of the greatest films ever. Or do you think he was still skeptical, like this may be a stinker?
No, I think once he got to the editing process, I like during the production you saw like how he was like, this is gonna be crap. Like this is like the
Hmm.
worst thing I'm ever making and stuff. But I think once he kind of got to the editing process, he must have known that this is something better. At least he pulled something out of his ass with all this chaos that he had.
Yeah.
And so I think he was probably like gratified by that. And then you can't, I guess, ever predict how much a movie kind of like pans out
How much impact?
like
Yeah.
going forward. Yeah, and so it's like, but he must have known that this was much better than he thought once he got to the editing process.
How do you think the film would have been if George Lucas actually directed it?
Yeah, that George. It seemed like George, but in George's stance, he was also being trying to convince that he should go to Vietnam, and I
Hmm.
think George was like. it seemed like George would not have done that. Where it's like, really do we want to be filming this thing in the middle of a conflict in Vietnam? And I don't know. I feel like things come out differently. Like technically, this movie was supposed to be filmed by Orson Welles.
Oh, that's right.
So
Yeah.
so yeah, like not in this same vein. Like Orson Welles wanted to do an adaptation of Heart of Darkness
Of this.
as his
Yeah.
film and everything, but then he goes on to do Citizen Kane, and so
Which is
it I
crazy.
yeah, I wonder, it's like, what would have happened if this was like a flop for Orson Welles? Like, would he have done
Yeah.
Citizen
Citizen
Kane?
Kane. But
Yeah.
that's great. Like, there's no way you could have predicted that, but the way that that just panned out, like, okay, he wanted to do this and then didn't work out, so he made Citizen Kane, and that's one of a lot of film critics and film lovers' favorite films of all time. And then George Lucas was supposed to do it, and he pumped out a bunch of other films, and then it just fell into Coppola's lap, and it just added to his legacy. That's
Yeah.
just crazy to me.
And you saw how Coppola had to do it. He went all in, basically. Like, he's like, I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
pay for everything. And yeah, that's pretty intense, where it's like, that shows you that he really wanted to do this, but then he
Yeah.
had the other factors around it that he had to deal with, like having to fire Harvey Keitel and everything, and then bring in Martin Sheen, and then having to deal with Marlon Brando's fat ass, and then Dustin Hopper too. Dustin Hopper not even knowing what the
Oh
hell he's
yeah,
doing.
just shows up with cameras. He's like, I'm ready to go. I don't know the script, but I'm ready to go.
Yeah. So it's like, there's so much stuff in this movie where it's like, man, like you look back on it, like nowadays. Nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
do you think this movie would ever be made?
No, I think the 2000s era, like the Tropic Thunders and those like comedy era films where they just pushed the envelope, didn't care what they said. I think that was like the last time. Things may change in the future, but I think that was like the last time uh, creators were able to make whatever they wanted and didn't have to hold back. Now it seems like there's a lot of, we talked about it before, but it seems like there's a lot more hands in the production of a film or a TV show. So creators can't really push the envelope as far as they would like.
Yeah. We kind of see it all the time, where it's like, it almost seems like production companies, or these bigwigs, the executive people, are like walking around on these sets and everything, and they're like, how about we do this? And it almost kind of helped out Francis Coppola, right? This movie, where it's like, he was able to do it without handcuffs, so to
For this
speak,
era.
from the production company and stuff. And so,
Yeah.
because he was doing everything himself, and because I do imagine, even though United Artists was there to help out a little bit, right? They kind of gave him $40 million to kind
Yeah.
of continue production, and then, but they said, if you didn't hit this mark, you're paying us all that money back. so
Which is
so that
crazy.
it's like, they're still gonna get their money.
United Artists, isn't that George Lucas's production company? Or am I tripping?
No, that's ILM, Industrial Light and Magic,
Okay,
is
yeah, I knew
George
he had
Lucas.
that. Okay. I don't know
Yeah,
why I thought
I
he
don't know
was
if United Artists.
in United Artists also. I thought he just had
Yeah,
all the money in the world, so I just
but
threw that out there.
he pretty much does.
What did you what did you think about Lawrence Fishburne being 14 in that film?
I was like, Patty. When they showed him, and they called
Yeah.
him Larry Fishburne.
Yeah.
And they said he was a 14-year-old, like, nobody, and just showed up on set and everything. I was like, Patty, that's Morpheus, and she had to look it up. She was like, that's him.
Yeah. Just a child. And he
I
was
don't
the
know,
craziest
like,
one, just shooting everything.
who he's just killing everybody and all that
Yeah.
stuff, and
Like, come on.
but who signs off on a kid That's 14 to go to the Philippines to go film
Yeah,
this movie.
for months. Like, hey, school can wait.
Yeah.
Just go to the Philippines for a few months,
Yeah,
make this
no one
film.
gives a shit about school.
Yeah. Like, this film may or may not work out, but you're 14. You can figure it out later. Go ahead. Yeah, I don't know.
That's
I,
impressive. Where and also because
yeah.
he looks so much older and everything, like he looks like an
Hmm.
adult. And that probably played into like allowing him to take this role where he looks
Yeah.
much older than he should be at 14. But then he still looks like a baby face. Like that's what they wanted, right?
Yeah.
They wanted
They
Lawrence
wanted like a
Fishburne's
fresh
kind
out
of
the,
character to be those Vietnam veterans.
yeah,
Yeah.
the young
So
ones.
it's interesting.
Yeah. There's no way that could happen now. Like, but I'm happy it did happen for him back then.
Yeah. Do you see anything like I had trouble like rate or like reviewing this. I never actually rated
Hmm.
this documentary and stuff. But do you see
Yeah,
anything
I
that's
realized
like
that
a
too.
negative? Like what could be
No,
better for this?
I think my only negative is that more filmmakers don't do this, and that's not a negative towards this film. Like, I couldn't see anything negative about it because it was informational. Like, you got all the insight you could ever want about the creation of this film. So yeah, I didn't have any negatives.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like I like if this was like one of those like production company like making of a movie thing,
Yeah.
then I would say that would have been like a negative where it's like you can tell everything's filtered through a
Hmm.
lens of like let's make everything look nice, like you said. Where this shows you exactly, and it shows you why people or why Francis Ford Coppola is great and everybody around him is great and stuff. And so
Hmm.
it shows that his mind just works differently, different from most people on this earth and stuff. And so it was an interesting kind of look into his mind, which could be chaotic, I guess, if you can kind
Yeah.
of his mind added to the chaos of this production, but then it turned into this like majestic kind of like everyone has to watch Apocalypse Now. Like, have you never watched Apocalypse Now? That's like the thing that like
It's like blasphemy. Like, how could you? I had
who
mhm.
wait, I can ask you this. Who would you
Yeah.
recommend this movie to, or who would you refer like suggest this movie to?
I would say definitely fans of Apocalypse Now if they haven't already seen it, and then uh, aspiring filmmakers for sure, so they can see the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of creating something.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that is like the key in that is that anybody that has interest in like cinematography, filmmaking, anything that revolves around the whole production of film, this is like an actual true insight into like what that looks like. Even though
Yeah,
it's like probably it's like set to 100 because like not all films nowadays are like actually like filmed in a conflict that is not related to the
yeah,
conflict that you're trying to film. So this is like really deep into what you can do, but it also does answer the question of like or like at the end Francis has said like I hope in the future that there's people that can make a film just by themselves, and
you
I
beat
think
me
it
to it. I was
does.
going to ask you
This is
about that.
happening now.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think his little dream is coming true technically because people are able to do something on their phones, are able to film something, and we've seen it with the Colonels series that we have where it's like short films can be very heart stopping and dramatic,
Yeah,
and it's amazing.
yeah. That's funny that you. That's funny that you brought that up because that was actually what I was going to bring up. Was do you think we're at that like what he envisioned for the inclusive filmmaking? And I totally agree with that. Like the fact that anyone is able to create a short film, a YouTube video, or TikTok, whatever it may be, with something that's in their pocket, like 90% of the time, or the fact that
Yeah.
consumer cameras are so readily available, and you can make uh, a great looking film with a $1,500 camera, if like, or $1,000 camera, if that. All you need is the camera, kit lens, and you can use daylight. You don't even have to be in a studio. So yeah, I agree. I
Hmm.
definitely think what he envisioned is here now.
Yeah, and I wonder what's his opinion right now, like as he's sitting around on his winery and stuff, and like is this like does he feel happy about what the groundwork that he kind of laid for everybody in the
Mhm.
now, I guess. And I'm assuming so.
I hope so.
But it'd be interesting to kind of get his point of view now.
Now we have to put it out in the universe that we want to interview him and ask him like, hey, so these
Yeah, there
YouTube
you go.
videos, what do you think?
We have a small channel called Saturday Night Popcorn, and then we want to interview.
We would love your opinion.
All right, Kai, you want to take us out?
Yeah, thanks for joining us for another episode of Saturday Night Popcorn. I'm Kai.
And I'm Jason. And let us know in the comments if you've seen this documentary, Hearts of Darkness and a Filmmaker's Apocalypse. Let us know what you thought and everything. And please subscribe and like to our channel, Saturday Night Popcorn.